Hello and welcome to the House of Bloom. I'm your host, Clayton Bloom. Today I will be talking about the Royal Rumble 2022, my predictions and my thoughts. First, I'd like to talk about the Women's Royal Rumble. Why are so many names being dropped so early? I can fully understand having one of big name to help promote it. I'm perfectly fine with maybe Lita. Somebody to get the crowd excited and get the crowd and the fans thinking. But why somebody like Mickie James that is really giving a pop early that could have been saved? Um, if you have somebody like Mickie James, somebody who's a current champion with another company, something that was always considered taboo, that leaves the fan thinking, what's going on? What does this mean? And if you do the Women's Royal Rumble before the men, people can be going the whole pay-per-view like, oh my god, what's going on? Like who else could be showing up? Instead, you let it out early, and I hope there was some heavy talks and understanding and planning about how she's going to be treated. With her being as a champion, I do feel like she needs to go in. I do think she needs to go in the Royal Rumble and look strong. I like to see her, I would say number 6 or so. She doesn't need to be one of the first ones, but I would say 6 and in the late teens, like 17 or 18, before she's eliminated. If she's only in and out real fast, I think that makes her look weak as a champion. And her company does need to look strong, devalues her other company. But getting back to Lita, where she goes in is not as a big deal, more about when she gets eliminated. I would like to see her make it to the final four. It's always like a big deal when you get down to the final four. You know, one of these four. If you have her as the final four, people are going to start thinking like, oh, are they going to pull the trigger? Are they going to let her have one more run? I don't think she's a person that needs another run. The person who made it to like 5 or 6 or a heel that got eliminated. Somehow she comes out back to the ring and pulls Lita out, ruining her chances of winning. That way you can do a storyline that doesn't involve a belt. You don't always need a belt. Like a good storyline, a good feud would be great for Lita. And instead of having only maybe 2 matches at WrestleMania, especially nowadays when it's 2 days, you could have a third or even a fourth if you do a good storyline with the tag team belts. So it could be like a heel person that thinks they're above Lita, that she's washed up, that she should have never came back. And you just have that heel and Lita go back and forth leading up to WrestleMania, and you can do a blow off feud at WrestleMania. I think that would be very interesting and adds one more women's match that could happen. Well, Charlotte Flair has the belts, so if unless you're going to take her the belt off her, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure who to do it with. The other person is, why have Alexa Bliss come back? It was literally like 2 weeks before Royal Rumble. I don't understand why you're doing this therapy storyline that doesn't need to happen at this moment. I think if you had her show up in a old gear that's darker, something that she wore around 2018, 2019, the goddess black gear, but have her makeup goth, fiend like. How is she back? Is she a split personality? You could build up a storyline with her. Instead, you have her come back early and do this therapy storyline that I don't know. Like you could have done a split personality storyline right now to lead into the therapy storyline for her to be cured. You don't have to do everything right off the bat. Everything you could wind up doing like a slow build up to a final payoff. So right now the only surprise that I could see happening, and I don't know, I think it's still question if it's gonna happen, is Paige really released or not? She's one of the few people that is floating out there that there's rumors going around that did she go to quit it. That's just one big pop. Like, I mean, if that was the whole reason, let all these other names out, so all everything shines on her return. But I don't know. I think you could have had multiple pops instead of just maybe one big one. Who you give it to right now? In my eyes, none of the women really. One doesn't really outshine more than the other. They're kind of doing something with Nikki and Ripley. She's the only person in my eyes. I'm still fairly decent sized fan that I would like to see her at WrestleMania, but she's also already had two different WrestleMania moments, so it is maybe time for somebody else to get a turn in the spotlight. And it's just right now, like, seems like they're focusing more involving her and Nikki Cross. That doesn't seem like her path is to the belt at the moment. Moving on to the men's Royal Rumble. I know a lot of people think like something's going to be happening with Brock Lesnar to leave with Roman Reigns. I'm not quite sure if that's the right call. If you have maybe Brock lose his belt to jump into the Royal Rumble to win it to then fight Roman Reigns. I don't know, is the Royal Rumble really needed? If Roman Reigns somehow screws Brock Lesnar, you can't just have Brock challenge him at WrestleMania. Just let him be the other match, or even I don't know how many matches he has on his contract, how many appearances. If you have him in the Elimination Chamber to win that, because that could be interesting. If that's still the way they do the other match, because that's what way it has been years previous. The Royal Rumble winner gets one belt, then they do the Elimination Chamber to see who gets to challenge for the next belt. Or does, I mean, it is Brock. Like, if anybody gets to just go up against a champion, he's probably one of the few exceptions. The only other person that I question is, do you even do Roman Reigns? A lot of people want to see a little bit more of a storyline with Bobby Lashley. Do you build up a storyline to just have Bobby Lashley go against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? Do you have just Bobby Lashley do a storyline with Brock Lesnar to have their blow-off match be at WrestleMania? That's a huge question. I kind of feel like no. While it's something the fans are a little bit interested in, I feel like it's just something that, for whatever reason, Vince ain't. Like, Vince just doesn't feel it. Like, I kind of think he's, while they redeem themselves, I think he's worried that it'll wind up being like another Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar WrestleMania, considered one of the worst matches way back then. I think he's worried that that may be happen again and the fans just crap on the whole match. So I think he's hesitant to have two big guys like that go at it again. So I have two picks I would pick for the actual Royal Rumble match. Because I feel like in the long run, do honestly feel that Brock is just too predictable. I think too many people were expecting him to somehow show up and then win it. So I think they're going to just not go that route. Because it does seem like if it's a little too expected by the fans, they just try to come up with a different scenario. We all have heard that Kevin Owens was given a huge deal as a huge salary increase. I got a question, like, why would they do that? If they don't have big plans for him, why is he able to get such a big deal, especially in this time of era, whenever a lot of people were losing their jobs, a lot of people were thrown to the wayside, sent to AEW, sent to Ring of Honor, sent to Impact, sent to just the indie scenes. He's one of the few that not only got a new deal, got a much bigger deal. So they must have plans for him. So he's a very big pick in my eyes for him to win the Royal Rumble. I think that could be interesting. My second pick is I do feel like they want to let Edge have one last big spotlight event at WrestleMania to go for the belt and maybe even win it before he retires. I don't think his contract was a long-term contract. Like, it was something like a 5-year deal, and we're getting towards the end of it. I don't think they want to on like year 4.5, let him get the belt and then drop it real fast. So I could see them letting him have the belt now, have it for a little bit, lose it, do another couple storylines, then retire. And they already are doing the mixed tag match at Royal Rumble. So I feel like the whole Miz storyline is about blown off. So I could highly see Edge being the winner for him to have his final spotlight. But those are my thoughts and my predictions. We'll have to see what happens. If I miss anything, please comment. Uh, please tell me your comments, your thoughts. And if you do like content similar to this, I do talk about wrestling once in a while. I also do some Let's Plays on here once in a while. I also have my Honda Civic build, my Type X as I'm calling it build. So please like and share and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Thank you.